Hi everyone, I'm Thomas from FunTech Innovations. FunTech, oh, right there, yes. And thanks Intel for inviting us to be here to share our ideas with you. And welcome everybody to join the Intel BCA Business Come Alive. Education transformations, everything is digitized. And really thank you for this opportunity for us to share our 2 cents on the idea of digitizations. But before I start, I'd like to introduce myself properly. My name is Thomas Chang from FunTech Innovations. That is my information there. So I am the Alliance and Go-to-Market Director at FunTech, and that's my email. If you'd like to exchange some comments and feedback after this presentations, feel free to do so. We'll be really happy to hear from you. And before I start and share my presentations, I would like to acknowledge a lot of the material and content that I got from, which is Unicef. Unicef came out with a research called COVID-19 and School Closures, 1 Year of Education Disruptions. And from that article, I have learned a lot, in which I've also included a lot of that information in today's presentations. It's a good article, a lot of knowledge in there I like to share with the participant. Having said that, I'd like to show our presentations for today and move myself out of the way to the side. It should be good enough. Enlarge the presentations. Maybe make myself smaller. All right, let's start, shall we? Our topic is digital table in the era of hybrid learning. And we say that's the next best thing than teaching face-to-face. Very, very important because nowadays schools are in lockdown. It's difficult to have an in-class experience. So how do we provide the same thing or the next best thing or next best experience than being there in the class is really, really important. But before we talk about digital table, let's talk about the issues at hand. A lot of people don't know or not informed that COVID-19 actually shut down schools in many different countries. And research has shown out of these countries, 168 millions of students actually are not going to school. Their schools are completely shut down. They are deprived of their educations. And students and children are the most vulnerable group in the society. They are not getting their educations, especially in the poor countries or the countryside. And that is a very serious issue that we really need to take a look at. Because quality education ensures each child can reach their full potentials, and school lockdown create learning inequality, especially on those who are the most deprived of resources. So the rich countries, they can actually absorb a lot of hit from COVID. But the poor countries, they're the ones that don't have the health ecosystem, they don't have the vaccines, and their schools are vulnerable, they don't have the internet infrastructures. They are the ones that we need to really pay attention to. So this is a research shown, as I said, from that wonderful article. And by February 2nd, 2021, this is their finding. At that time, this is how the world looked like. So if we take a look, red means fully closed, yellow means partially closed, blue means fully open. So if we look at the globe at the time, we notice that about 13% were fully closed, 24% partially closed, 53% partially open. And that's the world, right? And you can see the richer countries such as North America, or I say regions or continent, Western Europe, East Asia, they actually have much less percentage in terms of schools that are fully closed. But if we look to the left, which are the poor countries, also the countries that are being hit by the pandemic the most, their children are pulled out of schools. So if we look at them, Latin America and the Caribbean, 22%, South Asia, 18%, Eastern and Southern Africa, North, Middle and North and West and Central Africa, these are the countries that are getting hit the most and their schools are completely shut down. So, what happens when the schools are shut down? What do the government and the organization do? Well, they have to resort to some other way of teaching, which is remote teachings. And they do it by several ways. If we take a look, radio, televisions. Believe it or not, the first time that I read this, I can't believe teaching is done through the radio. But in certain part of the regions, that's the way they have to teach because there's no not enough internet infrastructures, nor devices that students can use at their home to receive lectures, like the advanced Western world or in Europe or in East Asia. Right? So there are radio, televisions, and internet. However, TV and radio require programs to be pre-recorded, and that makes live interactive lessons difficult. Obviously, you cannot talk back to TV, talk back to your radio. Instead, in order to have that live interaction, which is so important, because that's what happens in the real class situations, we have to do it through digital technologies such as the internet, personal computers, tablets, and mobile phones to emulate classroom-like interaction. Classroom-like interaction, very, very important. So today, we need to focus on how do we provide the classroom-like interaction and learning and teaching experience so that students and children that are deprived of their education can try to gain back some through technologies. And this is a very interesting diagram I believe we should take a look at. There is a positive relationship between number of schools closures, school closes, and the lack of internet. That means if there's regions that have more school closed, more days in school closed, it's likely that their internet coverage, lack of internet coverage is also high. So no school, no internet. That is double negative. If we take a look at this trend right here, on the left hand side is the days of school closures. So on the top, 200. At the bottom, 0. For internet coverage, 100% for full coverage, 0% for no coverage. So if we pay attention to this chart and let's take a look, we will see that these group right here are the countries that are getting hit the most. They are the one that with a lot of school closes, students have nowhere to go. They are deprived of their educations. At the same time, they have close to 0 internet connections. And down below are the richer countries, because these are the guys that can open their schools, maybe because they handled it better in terms of the pandemic infection rate and the lockdown. But at the same time, they also have better internet coverage. So that is the phenomenon. Again, pandemic is hitting the world the same, but the result is different. The countries and regions with more resource can battle it better. Regions, the poor countries, poor regions suffers the most. And a research that was published by Unicef 2021 July 13 says 1 in 3 countries are not taking any actions to help students to catch up to their learning. So they lost 1 year, and 1 year is a long time in the student's learning career. Countries are not taking mechanism to help them to catch up, and that is disadvantage. Especially those countries are probably the poor countries. So this pandemic is now creating a bigger difference in terms of capabilities and productivities between the richer groups in terms of their economic and the poor countries. And guess what? The situation is not on our side. Pandemic is not improving. If we look at it right now, we are right about here and we are right about there, which is 7 months ago. So we're about at the status of 7 months ago in terms of our daily new cases. And we know that the pandemic is going to be here to stay, all these different variants, alpha, delta, beta, and that's going to continue to break our vaccinations, continue to break our barriers. So we have to learn that the pandemic is going to be here, and the way it is going to stay, and the way it is actually hybrid learning, which is the new normal. We have went from the good old days before 2020 March, which I miss dearly, to the really bad days, which is after that everyone is locked down at home and everybody is then now entering into a hybrid mode. Hybrid mode means somebody's going to be learning at home, somebody's going to be learning in class, somebody's going to do both. That is what hybrid means. So in the new normal, how do we help schools? How do we help teachers? How do we help students to better cope with that inability to travel or inability to be in the same locations. How do we help them with that? Right, so in the era of hybrid learning, for the educator or the teachers, they want to ensure the same level of engagement for students at home as if they were at school. And it's vital to provide as immersive a remote learning experience as possible. Okay? So how do we emulate that experience? We do it by capturing the teacher and the environment of the classroom. Okay? And that's key. We will talk about that. The problem though is that students, when they are on remote video conference call, they simply lose focus. They lose focus in their remote meeting. Why? It's hard to pay attention if every of your remote classes looks like this, right? Everybody turns on the camera and we become a very, very small square thumbnail onto the monitor. And when the student or the teacher shares content, PowerPoint, then all that disappears and we are seeing pages after pages after pages of PowerPoints or content. It's not the same. It simply is not the same. It's not as if the days that we were in the classroom. And that's why students are not going to pay attention in those kind of settings. So that has to change. And how do we change that? To change that, we first have to understand what are the 4 key elements of hybrid class lecture and why people are failing in those 4 keys of elements. So let's take a look. The 4 key elements are audio, video. Audio is that whatever happens in inside the classroom could be captured, could be heard. Video is that the teacher's face could be seen, student's face needs to be seen. And multiple content sharing means a lot of the content that's used by the teacher or shared by the students needs to also be seen by the remote participant. And of course, annotation and whiteboard and class summaries. So let's look at them in details, one by one. If we go into audio, it has to be able to pick up every conversations inside, especially the teacher. For video, insufficient camera angle to cover all participants. Expensive to set up a way to cover multiple locations of importance. Multiple locations means inside a classroom, there are so many important locations such as teachers, students, lab table, whiteboard, and documents. And how do you maneuver? Once you set it up, how do you maneuver the video feed for teacher? Teacher has to understand how to do it over Teams and Zooms and Google Meet. And it's not easy. And he cannot display multiple camera feed together in one single sessions. It's just difficult to do. For content sharing, in the class, student needs to show his content, his work, right? That's how we learn. A lot of times we learn by participating in group projects, by having interaction with other students and classmates. And if we can't see what our classmate is doing, presenting, working on, then it will be difficult for us to learn because we can no longer learn from our peer just because we are actually sitting in the house, not in the same classroom. So we need to combat that. And in class, most of the classes now uses the cable. And if you use the cable, you can't show it on the video conference call, right? And if in-class students want to show their content or show their devices, they need to join the call. They need to join the video conference call to share their device. But if they do, it's one device at a time. How about comparison? If I want student A, student B to both show their work, both show their drawings, impossible to do it over video conference. And lastly, but so important in education, is the ability to annotate and write and express and brainstorm and express ideas. So having the annotation capability and whiteboarding, it's so crucial. However, today, if we are talking about most of the video conference technologies and platforms such as Teams, Google Meet or Zooms, their annotation is not that sophisticated, right? Because their annotation doesn't stick to document. You write on top, you have to erase it because the next page, once you flip, the ink is not going to change. It's always floating at the same locations. It's not smart. And you cannot save it back to document. So if I show a PowerPoint and I write in Zooms, it's not going to stick and stay and save inside to the document. It's going to save as a page, as a snapshot, a simple image. And it will be hard for the classroom for the teachers or the students to use that as a class summary. So with all that said, we need to solve all this issue flexibly, allowing the teacher to provide that in-class experience to the remote participant. All right? How do we do that? We do that through the concept of digital table. What is a FunTech digital table? It is a digital table to hold digitized content. It could be drawings, it could be PowerPoint, it could be Word, it could be videos, it could be camera feed, it could be many things. Why is that important? It's important because once you are able to hold everything onto that same table, you can show them easily and efficiently, and students in your class and students on the remote side on the video conference call can enjoy a very smooth lecture and presentations. And trust me, that's so new and so inspiring and so innovative that when they see that, when they experience it for the first time, they are going to fall in love with your teaching because you're supposed to communicate easily and you inspire. Teacher needs to inspire and lead. It's difficult to do that nowadays on video conference only. So what does that mean? Okay, trust me, this is not complicated. Give me 3 minutes, I'll explain. The digital table is like a presentation layer. What it does, it handles the presentations, okay? And inside there's an integration layer within the software. The software actually integrates all these necessary inputs and contents. So they could be media contents, it could be wireless casting devices, webcam, document camera, and in-room student camera. Once they are integrated in and put into the table, we can do magic through video conference screen sharing. Okay, so all these contents go into the table, and through video conference screen sharing, it works with Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Google Meet, WebEx. What that means is schools and teachers, you can use any video conference platform that you like or your district allows you to do. And you can actually incorporate the concept of digital table into it so that all the remote participants that are here on the platform can enjoy the show and the magic that you're putting on with a digital table. Okay, so let's showcase that one by one. If I like to showcase that, let me go here and minimize. So now you're seeing it. This is the table. I've been using that for the past 10 minutes. And here is the boundary. So there's a boundary to it. Inside this table, you can actually put your content here anywhere you want, just like putting a piece of paper onto a physical table. You can resize them any way you want, or sometimes even change the direction of it. So it's quite simple. And of course, I think you have noticed I've been writing onto this content for quite a while now. So basically anything on this table you can write, you can annotate, you can resize and reposition, and you can pan, tilt, and zoom. What does that mean? For example, I can one click to enlarge so that students are now focusing on my content, and I can zoom in with my mouse. And once I zoom in, I can pan, I can look up, I can look down, I can focus students' attentions anywhere I need them to look. Your presentation will be so refreshing with this capability. But not just with one piece of content. This is particularly a PowerPoint, right? This is a PPT. But what if I have something else? Well, let's take a look. So, besides the PowerPoint, what else could be there? Let's see. Let's go into a different file type. Into the file type folders. Okay, so let's see. What if we have an image, a JPEG, a PNG, PDF, a video, a website, and a Word document. And once I have them all onto this table, they are working amazingly together. With one click, we can organize them, and they are organized, and we can actually interact with individual piece of it. We can play the video as the video plays, right? We can interact with one piece of content, for example, that is the PDF. and we can zoom in, we can focus on the writing, we can annotate, we can focus their attentions, or we can go into an image and we can do the same thing, everything, and see that clarity, focus their attentions in the class. Everything that we write in digital table, when we write into document, guess what? They are in the document, right? See, I'm on page 1 and I can flip a page and you can see that the ink, it's not running all over the place. Wherever we annotate, that's where it stays. And that is very powerful if we are teaching in class. So the ability to pick and choose any content with one click to focus, using annotations, pen, tilt, and zoom. That's the power of this digital table. And guess what? If we save, okay, if we save within the digital table, it actually becomes reality. It will write the ink that we just created in this digital table. It's going to write inside the document. Let me see if I can create that. So this is the deck that we have been using since the beginning of the presentations, yeah? And we have wrote so many things on there. But just for the sake of example, let's write something new. Hello, everyone. Business come alive. Okay. So I just wrote that, and let me save this content by pressing save. So it's gonna save, but it's gonna save into what? Let's take a look. That's the important questions. And let's clean up the table a little bit so it's not that messy as I clear that out. And let me move back to my original background. This is the important part. Intel, FunTech Innovations. And let me see if my media file is being saved correctly. Right. Oh, oops. Let's come here. It's being saved right now, right there, as you can see. Once it completes, I like to open it up in its original format to show you how it looked like. I believe it's getting close to be done. And let's open it up, shall we? Okay. Right. It's there. As you can see, I'm opening it up in Windows. And you can see that we have created a copy, which is a save that we just did. Digital table, you and I, right in front of your eyes. So I like to open that up in PowerPoint, and this is what you will see. As you probably already know, Microsoft has designed Microsoft Windows Ink into all its Office documents. And Windows Ink is an incredible tool for people to use to express idea, annotate, and showcase. And let me try, what I want to do is I like to select those for you. So that's what we wrote, right? And this is actually live inside a Microsoft document. And that we can move them, we can simply erase them. That is just a wonderful way to interact with class and ability to save it back into your original document. And guess what? Once you do that and you distribute it after your class is going to remember the material so much. Why? Because they had gone through the class with you. They saw your writing, and now they're seeing a copy of your writing. So when they open it up, it's refreshing. They get reminded. Your class capability, of your teaching capability, and your students' chances of remembering is a lot higher with a good summary, class summary. So besides contents, what else can you do? Well, you can do many things. We have devices here. What exactly are they? Well, you can actually share your wireless device. So if I have content inside my phone, and if I have content, or students have content inside their laptop, maybe we can showcase that. Would that be amazing? Remember, we said if we want to let classmates to learn from each other, it's better that they can see each other's work. So how do they do that? They can do it through native screen sharing, such as AirPlay from the phone, or Chromecast from the Android devices or the Chromebook, or they can use Miracast for Windows. And when they do that, it's so easy for the remote participant and the in-class participant to see. So pay attention here. We just added 2 devices here. How do I add them? Well, I simply connect them through Wi-Fi. So wireless screen sharing, I got my phone up. So this is my phone. Does it look like a phone? I hope so. Enlarge that. And a lot of the experiences teachers or students have is they can only cast 1 device at a time, but not here. We can cast multiple devices. So that's a laptop, the one that I'm showing right now. And this one is actually a phone. So let me try to turn it into a phone more. This is my phone. Probably you can see it. It's looking like a phone right now. So I'm projecting my phone and my laptop at the same time. This could be teachers' wireless device, it could be students, but the point is they now can share their content side by side. And remote participant can see it as well. So the implications of this and the capability and the way we can create with wireless casting technology, implication is just endless. Right? What we want to do is allowing the teachers and the students to have their capabilities of free-flowing, sharing their content so that they can see it easily, and the remote participant can also see that easily. But what else is there? Remember, we promised multiple content onto this digital table. So let's see. If I go back to the original document that we have been talking about, and let's go to the architecture one more time. We have shown contents, documents, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, pictures, videos, PDF, and browsers, website browsers. And we actually have shown the phone and the computer device through wireless screen sharing. We support Windows, Apple, Android. We haven't seen, or we haven't really shown you the cameras. Right? So there's webcam and there's document camera that is really wonderful in a classroom setting. So let me make this thing smaller and let's show that. What if I'm in the class, but besides showing myself as teacher, besides having the capability of enlarging myself or minimizing myself whenever I need, focusing on my content or focusing on myself, besides that, what if I have something else that I would like to show, which is on my document camera? Is that possible? Let's see. And let's better illustrate that in a math class. Okay, let's do that in a math class. Let me go into a math class right now. Right. Okay, so in a math class, the background changes. Right? Math is difficult to teach if you are not face-to-face. Right? Because it's not the most interesting of subject for most people, and it takes a lot of writing and annotation to explain the ideas. And if it's just one way, there's no interaction between students and teacher or classmate with classmates, it's very easy to lose focus. So what can we do here? Let's see. If we have some math problem, we can digitize them and show them here. It could be a PDF, it could be a Word document, it could be a PowerPoint, it doesn't matter. Once it's on here, they can see, oops, that's not the right direction. They can see it easily. But sometimes teachers don't like to use digitized copy. Why change their behavior? We shouldn't. Teachers should always stick with their behavior, right? What if they have a physical copy and they like to write? What if we can show them the digitized copy of a physical document camera by using and connecting the document camera onto the digital table? Well, let's see how it looks. Now, this is ultra clear, right? So the digital camera is capturing this physical copy of document, transforming that into the digital table. So now it's digitized and we can do all sorts of things once it's in the table, and the remote participants are actually seeing that as well. What if the teacher likes a whiteboard? Can we do it on the whiteboard? I guess we can. So let's pull out the whiteboard. Once we have it, we can enlarge it, zoom in, so that the remote participants are seeing that. Guess what? This looks similar, right? Question 1, 5 plus 2. Question 2, question 3. They are all the same. What I'm trying to say is, if you are a teacher and you like to teach it on a digital copy, on a document camera, or on a whiteboard, you can do so. It doesn't matter. Whatever that you are comfortable with, you can use it. And sometimes, if you want to go into a deep dive of lecturing and interaction with your student, a table is not enough. You need a bigger space. And what is a bigger space? How about an infinity whiteboard? We call it a digital wall. Now we are in a digital wall. Okay. So we have our whiteboard and the teacher here. And let's say if we want to do these questions. 5 plus 2. Well, we can just write question 1. 5 plus 2. So as you can see, not only that we can bring to life the actual subject inside the camera, we can also put that into a digital table, a digital wall, and interact with it. So what if I have the content in the real world and I like to write up, digitize information accordingly? And yes, we can do that. So what I'm trying to make is the ability to connect physical objects inside the classrooms to the capability of the digital table is absolutely important to ensure a very, very smooth learning experience in hybrid world. So, if we take a look in the class, what are important? There are so many important areas of interest within the classroom. For example, if you like to teach at your desk, then you gotta have the teacher camera, writing tablet, document camera, and the solutions to help you to provide the experience that you need so that your student can feel that they're with you. And if you're teaching the classroom, of course, having the student camera, teacher camera, document camera, there are so many important positions that need to be broadcast, which will be the teachers, the whiteboard, the students, and the documents. And it will be very, very difficult to do that through a single video conference platform. We need a digital table to be able to integrate all together contents, your digitized contents, your devices, and your camera, so that students at home can feel that they are there with you in the same classroom. And that is the immersive experience in the hybrid class lectures, right? And this is so important because, guys, a lot of students are still in lockdown and they don't have the chance to go back to their classroom. They are the ones, especially the ones that are in the countryside, the rural area, they can't enjoy the same first class teaching facilities or the teachers that are well trained by the national universities. They are the ones that require internet connectivity so they can catch up. And in order for them to catch up, they want to be exposed to the most immersive learning experience possible. And these are the people that we really need to think about because they are the ones that needs our help. And through technologies, we can't solve their internet connectivity infrastructure issues. But what we could do is to help them and help their teachers to provide the most immersive learning experiences possible, because that's what they need and that's what they deserve. So with that, I'd like to close today's presentations and thank you guys again for listening. My name is Thomas Chang from FunTech Innovations, and I hope you have a really good BCA experience in 2021. Stay safe and stay productive. Take care. Bye-bye.